So a systematic outsourcing and offshoring process. We need to have some tool to help us make these decisions, right? So we have a 4-step tool. So we have stage 1, a capability analysis, stage 2, a vulnerability analysis, stage 3, a location analysis, and then 4, we're finally going to do the implementation. So let's go ahead and look at the capability analysis. So in your book, there's a example of Candy Magic. So you'll see Candy Magic put on here. So currently, Candy Magic is looking at they're less capable because we're analyzing our capability here. So Candy Magic is less capable and it's critical to the competitive advantage of the company. So when we look at our rivals, we're looking at it and seeing, okay, where are we currently, right? So here, the chart says it's critical and less capable. So that means we need to outsource or invest in building the capability. So we can bring that capability in-house, but we need to invest in that. So it's going to cost money. Some companies do not have the money, so they're going to outsource. So let's move forward that we're going to outsource on this. Stage 2, a vulnerability analysis. So we don't want surprises. We need to evaluate several things here. Power, or supply power, our performance measurements, our process interdependencies, unique machinery, and uncertainty. These are all different areas that we can be vulnerable to our rivals. So if we can live with that vulnerability, we outsource. If we're too vulnerable, we can't accept that vulnerability, we need to bring that in-house or keep it in-house if it's something we already do. So now when I say vulnerability, this could be that even though we've outsourced it, and if it goes horribly wrong, can we live with being vulnerable like that, with that being a possibility? If it's not too high, we outsource. If it is too high, we keep that service in-house, even if we don't do it very well. So let's say we chose to outsource. We need to figure out where we're going to outsource. So we can onshore or offshore. And here we have Mexico and China on our chart. So we're going to look at the locations' attractiveness, their capabilities, and the cost of these locations. And Candy Magic appears to be looking at Mexico. So how do we analyze using the location analysis? Well, how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to use a multi-criteria analysis. So we have to decide on what criteria we're going to measure. And then we're going to decide the weights of the criteria. For example, if cost is going to be 50%, well, that's the weight of it, 50%. If it's only 10%, we mark it as 10%, but all our weights have to equal 100%. We can't have weights that don't equal 100%. So we need to define the scoring system. What is a perfect score? What is a medium score? What is the lowest score? How do you score that? Are you doing a 0 to 100, a 1 to 100, a 1 to 10? How are you going to do that? And you should define what equals the highest score, what equals a middle score. You should define that too. You're going to evaluate your options. So you're actually going to start filling in the numbers. And then you're going to calculate the results. So here is a multi-criteria analysis done by Candy Magic as an example. So the criteria and the weight was determined by a cross-functional team at the start of the analysis. Don't try to reinvent the wheel after you start getting numbers. So when we look at this, it looks like we're comparing 4 different companies: Candy Magic, Candy Is Us, Rapid, and Pax Max. So price, it was weighted at 30%, and you see the scoring. Candy Magic got 50, Candy Is Us has 60, Rapid has 100, and Pax Max is 90. So you would go down the chart, and then you'd do the weighted sum at the bottom. So it looks like 88.2 for Pax Max is the highest one. So this would be the company you would decide to go with. Now, if you've gone through the criteria and maybe you want to add criteria, your weighted the weighted total still needs to be 100. So you might have to adjust weighted percentages as you go through. They're using decimals here, but you should know that 0.3 is 30%, 0.2 is 20%, and that when all these weighted averages are put together, or weighted numbers are put together, it should equal 1, which equals 100%. So, finally, implementation and management. So we need to look at several things, and we need to consider different issues. So we need to set up our implementation team. This might mean we need to bring on new talent. Maybe we need to do new hires from outside the company. This might be just bring different people into the team from within the company. So implementation is going to be a longer term project and be much more intense than this analysis that we just did. So we need to define the sourcing process. How intensely do we need to work with the supplier? Do we need to be in constant contact with the supplier? Do we need the supplier to actually send somebody and put them in our office? Or do we need to put somebody in their office? How intensive does this process need to be? And then we need to establish our policies, procedures, and the processes. So we need to, of course, establish some measurements. Because if it's not measured, it's not going to get done. So we need to use a performance scorecard. But we need to make that scorecard. And make sure our supplier knows what this scorecard is and how things are rated. And of course, as with anything, we need to look at it from time to time and continuously improve. Because we always want to get better. Because if we get better, that means we're going to be more efficient with the money. The job's going to get done better, higher quality. Everybody's happy and it adds value. So this was topic 7. Offshoring and outsourcing, or outsourcing and offshoring. So the who and where decision. It's not difficult, although when you get into this process, it's going to be extremely difficult. But if you stick to the process here, it's not going to be something that's impossible. You might be very cautious because it's such a huge decision for a company, but get through it. The data will lead you to the correct decision. So I hope you guys learned a lot from topic 7, and let's go ahead and move on into our next topic. I'll see you there.